Hello and welcome everyone. This is our newest Expert Sessions webinar. This series is organized by TrueNote, which is a venture-driven product studio, Symphony, a leading design and software development company, and commercetools, or the very inventor of Headless Commerce. The reason why we're all here today is because we are all witnesses of the tremendous growth of e-commerce within the pharmaceutical sector. And same as we are with the opportunities and the challenges that it brings. So to discuss this topic today, I'm joined by Daniel Shim, Senior Director of Product Marketing at commercetools. And then we'll today deep dive into the concept of composable solutions, and he will talk about their application in the pharmaceutical sector. But more than that, to support today's learnings with a case study, we're also having with us our second speaker, Šebešćen. Robert is an experienced solutions and also a certified headless architect who is coming from Symphony. Robert was part of the team that developed the last mile pharma delivery venture, which was a project between TrueNote, Symphony, and commercetools, and today he will share his experience with us. And one very important note before we start, I would like to encourage every one of you to think of some questions that you may have and just add them in the Q&A sections. We will take some time at the end of the webinar to go through your questions and answer as many as we can. And in case we don't have enough time to go through everything, we will make sure to follow up with you. And I would also like to inform you that this webinar is being recorded. So now, Dan, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Elena, and thank you for joining us today. Great introduction. My name is Daniel Shim. Just again to introduce myself to the audience. I am the head of product marketing at commercetools. And before I could tell you more about our company, I'd like to tell you more about your industry, this pharma industry. And I want to make sure that we can really imagine a scenario where e-commerce, digital commerce plays a really critical role in the industry. So I wanted to do a little bit of an imaginative exercise. Can everybody see my screen, first of all, before I jump in? Confirming, I see some nods. Okay, so when we think of e-commerce, digital commerce, it's really easy to fall into the trap of what we would go through as a regular consumer, right? As a regular consumer, you go online, you see a piece of apparel, footwear, health and beauty product that you want to purchase. You see the details on the product detail page, you migrate it to your cart, you check out with your credit card, and then it gets delivered to your home. And that's the usual e-commerce model that we may be all familiar with because of us being consumers, right? And living our daily lives. If you take for a moment, use your imagination to take a step back and look at commerce as a really big supply chain of suppliers and buyers, right? You have suppliers that want to make sure that you're able to get the goods that you want to purchase. They make it, they distribute it. And then the buyers are the ones that are actually purchasing the goods from you. And commerce plays a big role in each of those situations, but you got to get us outside of the notion of it being just consumers, right? There's also this whole nother world out there. We call it B2B commerce, where different businesses are buying from different businesses. And in that situation, you have a whole bunch of different suppliers and a whole bunch of different buyers on both sides. And you, let's say, as a pharma company, need to satisfy both of those constituents, right? In the supplier side, you have the manufacturers, the distributors, and the outsourcing providers that you're working with. On the buyer side, in contrast, you have the pharmacies, the healthcare professionals like the doctors and the clinics that you're making available your medication for, as well as the hospitals. And if you're distributing directly to end customers, maybe third-party logistics providers. So you have both suppliers and buyers on either side. And if you can imagine in the B2B commerce world, you want to be able to digitize all this, right? Digitizing it so you're not working with email, phone calls, paper forms, and going back and forth on negotiation. You want to be able to digitize that into a single site. And you'll see the key value proposition on the page here, creating an end-to-end commerce journey for pharmaceutical organizations and their community of suppliers and buyers, which are really expansive, right? And if you look at the diagram below, you can see that commerce layer, and that layer is really pointed out by the green arrows going back and forth, right? There's transactions going on, there's negotiations taking place, there's a lot of browsing of products, and you can see why with the variety of suppliers that a typical pharma company works with, a way to digitize all that interaction, all those transactions, all those back and forth information gathering, that can be digitized. But then on the other side, once the medication is available and the goods are available, on the buyer side, it gets just as complicated. You have the pharmacies and you have the healthcare professionals. And in each of those buying customer bodies, you have different contract prices, you have different delivery models, you have different data models to accommodate different ways to go to market for each of them. So there's a lot of complexity that commerce can really simplify. And when we take a step back and think of commerce, not in the sense of just a B2C prism, right? So a customer buying from a direct.com site and getting it delivered to your door. Imagine a scenario where you can simplify a whole bunch of different suppliers and buyers in a B2B setting. And that's what I think digitizing B2B is meant to convey here. Not to say that there's not some examples where B2C commerce can play a huge role in pharma. And in this case, if you think of B2B as creating a variety of sites for a variety of different suppliers and buyers, for B2C, it would be creating one site for not just one patient, but millions of patients, right? Conceptually, you'll have millions of patients who are using your product as a pharmaceutical company, but you want to make that page, and this is a key value proposition when it comes to B2C. We're used to the B2C commerce model, right? Us going online and getting the goods delivered. But what if you're able to create customer value by building relationships and proactively managing a digital source of truth? So you have millions of patients, and instead of just shipping products to them, making those products available online, what if you were to offer more comprehensive healthcare, say services as well? So in order for a patient to get the most out of their medication and using it to make sure that they're getting the most out of it, are there any complementary services that can be provided or referred to at this single digital source of truth? And remember, when you have medication, the patient needs information as well. Is there information about the product that millions of patients can go to get the most accurate, updated, and transparent information available about the product that they're getting from you? And last but not least, experience counts when it comes to B2C, right? It's not just a matter of handling a whole bunch of different suppliers and buyers. You want to make sure that the millions of patients that go to your site have a really pleasing experience. The navigation, the guided tools, the calculators that you plant in it, the different ways to make sure that the B2C elements of commerce, right? The look and feel of what they're buying, the selection, the price, all of that experience, all of those experience components are available in a B2C setting. That's something that we want to make sure that we offer at commercetools, but also e-commerce and pharma in general. So those are the two scenarios that I wanted to paint a picture for. Now I want to go into commercetools. Just as another way of just for another reminder, my name is Dan Shim. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing at commercetools. A little bit more about our company, commercetools. We were founded in 2006. We have over 600 commerce professionals currently based all over the globe. You can see the various locations that we have. And we have over 400 commerce projects that we're supporting for customers right now. 320 of them are enterprise businesses with customers all over the globe. And if you look at this division of the B2C and B2B business models, we see that 60% of our customers use our platform for our B2C use case, 40% use us for a B2B use case. A lot of them use us for both. So if you have a business model that requires, as I mentioned in the prior slides, both B2C and B2B capabilities, commercetools will be the one that supports you in both. We have 100 solution partners worldwide, and I wanted to make sure that we mention our recognition with Gartner, Forrester, and IDC analysts as leaders. And we know what we're doing, to say the least, but the principal philosophy behind our company is what you see here. And this is our philosophy when it comes to our technology. We believe in this concept called MACH. And MACH is an acronym, M-A-C-H, and it stands for the 4 components that you see here, M being microservices. Microservices is a modern architecture where you have everything that you need for the functionality contained in a really slick little tool that you can control independently. So microservices for A, microservices for B, all of that within your fingertips. And you can, this is an element of composition or composing a solution. You can mix and match different microservices together, all of them independently working in a great ecosystem. And that is the modern architecture that commercetools stands behind. We are also API first. API is the language of the internet. It's the way to integrate different functionality and web experiences and web applications for the end customer. All of our components and all of our functionality built for the commerce industry has an API integration layer to it. So you can integrate to it and make it infused into your business model. We are cloud native. Our cloud partners, Google Cloud and AWS, are very scalable. They have great computing capabilities. But it's really important to know that when you need the business the most, when you need the capacity and the scaling the most, it will be there to back you up. Headless, and this is a key component of what I was mentioning before, take a step back and imagine the commerce business model in a really simplistic way, connecting buyers to sellers. And your business model can be very different. It could be in the pharmaceutical space. In the pharmaceutical space, for instance, you have different distributors and different customers that you have to satisfy. In, let's say, the apparel space, you want to make sure that your B2C experiences are really well kept and really well toned, and making sure that the technology fits your business model. The headless model that we promote is really that, it's headless. It doesn't have a prescription on how you should run your business. We want the technology to be wrapped around your business model rather than the other way around. So we don't really provide a head or a storefront that you need to prescribe to. We want you to choose the different microservices and APIs that you want to use to compose your own solution. Oh, there was an animation there. And if you compare commercetools to other approaches, on one end of the spectrum, you have the all-in-one solution, which is instead of microservices and APIs, you have a big box. And the big box has native features that you would need for any commerce business. But it's native and you can't really get too sophisticated with it. So you have native search, native product detail pages, and that makes it less complex for implementations. And you have a lot of the things you need out of the box. But when you want to really mold it to your business, that's when you run into problems. On the other side, on the custom built, if you want to build it completely in-house, you have the most flexibility. You can do whatever you want and you can build it so that it matches the needs of your business exactly. The problem with that is there's a lot of maintenance associated with it, high level technical resources to not only stay on work, but stay on board for the long term, and also a high total cost of ownership. commercetools is the best of both. It covers a lot of the functionality out of the box, but it's flexible enough so that you can make it tailored for your business. And we follow a software as a service model where we have 0 upgrades. It's versionless, so you have the same version no matter who signs on. And because it's actually building blocks oriented, you have the basic capabilities formulated into an API that you could capitalize on. It's drastically lower cost than building it on your own. And this is just a top-side view or top-down view of different commerce functionalities that we have available here at commercetools via APIs. And you can see this is where the idea of composable commerce really comes in. You can see on the very left, the product catalog has an API for categories, products, the variants and the SKUs that you want to introduce for your catalog, pricing, images, all the different components that you would need to have a really robust product catalog. Now, making sure that these components are composed in a way that fits your business, right? In the case of pharma, your business is very unique. You have very specific suppliers and buyers that you need to work with. Making sure that these components are composed in a way that fits your business model is what commercetools is all about. And if we take a little bit of a conceptual look, we have the APIs on the bottom. That's the technology. We want to make sure that your product catalog, your content, your information, your experiences, either via a mobile app, a kiosk, a Amazon Echo if you wanted to, or a wearable device, or even a car, you want to make sure that those experiences are extended into those channels, those touch points that not only B2C customers use, but also B2B customers use as well, right? And that key layer is the implementation layer. We want to make sure that the customer is able to implement our APIs in an appropriate way that fits their business and gets the most out of it, right? Being able to extend your product catalog, your pricing, your merchandising, and your marketing into the different channels that really work for your business. You know, there's an array of different ways that you can really execute. What are the different implementation ways of implementing it so that you get the most out of it? And with that, I wanted to actually segue over, and so he could talk a little bit more about his background on implementation and some more of the engineering stuff. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan, for introducing me, and thank you all for attending this webinar. Today, my goal is to walk you through basically our pharma commerce story. So the year 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic brought about significant changes in the way people lived and worked. And as social distancing and lockdown measures were enforced worldwide, access to essential goods and services, including medications, became challenging for many. Now, recognizing the need for reliable and safe solution to access medication during the pandemic, a group of entrepreneurs and healthcare professionals teamed up and approached us with an idea, okay, we want to build an e-commerce marketplace dedicated to medications. Now, the goal was to create a user-friendly platform that would connect customers with licensed pharmacies, making it easy for people to obtain their prescriptions. Now, the platform was designed with following characteristics in mind. So we want to build a omni-channel commerce with the same-day delivery, with a total control of the customer experience, because the customer experience maximizes the conversions. Now, while keeping in mind, pharma e-commerce businesses face unique challenges such as regulatory compliance issues and, of course, ensuring data privacy and security, we need to stay competitive as well. So the goal is to adopt flexible solutions, which would enable customization and rapid experimentation. Now, if we were to look at our basically MVP scope as this little sports car that you probably saw on Dan's last slide, I would like to take it as an example which goal we want to reach. So these are the explicit characteristics, but there are also the implicit topics such as speed, cost, and quality. And we know that trade-offs need to be made, but the goal is always to bring the best out of these three dimensions. So in a nutshell, we need to build like a mobile app at first, where customers can order medications and have them delivered on the same day. Okay, let's put this MVP car in the appropriate place in timeline and see what are our options to reach it. Now, we considered building custom parts ourselves, but we consider it a time waste because we needed and wanted to learn from our customers' feedback and adapt. So our solution needed to be experienced as a whole as soon as possible. So in order for us to basically promptly steer it into the desired direction. Now, delivering a solution that takes you places and first, similar to this picture here, and gradually shaping it to the intended solution seemed like a great idea, but yeah, we could not compromise on the feature scope. I mean, we were already scoped to the MVP and we couldn't give up any of the features. So it would not make sense to give up the products, price list, checkout, payment. I mean, delivery app without delivery doesn't make much sense. So the next thing where we could have compromised is the cost of the customer experience. And that was not an option because customer experience is a significant driving force for conversions. And last but not least, we needed to lower the amount of throwaway effort. So here we can see like 4 different products being made, and we want to build basically 1 product and not 3 to throw away. So we wanted to reach the markets as soon as possible with a solution that is sturdy enough, scalable, with solid extensible foundation, and has desired and how we intended to look like. So in desired customer experience. Now, while there need to be made some compromises, we compromise at introducing some manual effort. And this was basically our strategy. So our strategy was to focus on shaping our solution through experimentation and automating manual parts only if needed and when needed. Now, to meet this requirement, we decided to build a solution using the composable commerce approach. So what this means, we were choosing the out-of-the-box headless solutions, adapting them to our needs, gluing them together, and building custom parts only where actually justified. So whenever we couldn't find something that would actually work out of the box, the custom solution was the fallback option. Now, when choosing off-the-shelf solutions, it allows us to have faster time to market, more robust solution out of the box, and lower, and in some cases, no maintenance cost. And the trade-offs would be the learning curve of the new tools and potential risk of choosing a solution that halfway through turns out that would not be able to navigate us through the last 10 miles of the project. So we should be prepared to mitigate that risk. And last but not least, constantly weighing build versus buy trade-offs, as well as which product to buy trade-offs. So selecting the core component was our first step. And in this case, core component is the e-commerce solution. And the decision was influenced by 3 primary factors. Now, first, we need a solution that supports core e-commerce features, such as PIM, cart, orders, discounts. And yeah, we are all aware that the only thing that is constant is change. So we need to choose a solution that's flexible enough and customizable enough so it can meet the requirements. And of course, you need to provide a great developer experience in order to enable rapid delivery. Now, commercetools met our requirements due to its features aligning with our needs, and its extensibility support for adapting core functionality gave us confidence really that we will be able to adapt to future and unforeseen decisions. Now, this is really important, and I must emphasize this. So another factor that supports the adaptability is ability, as Dan already mentioned, to pick and choose the components we need, allowing us to utilize as many features as necessary out of the box, but also to have an option if specific component does not fit our needs at some point in time, we can switch it with another component and still use the rest of the components similarly the same way we used before. Of course, there are some integrated parts that work well, and you might lose some functionality at that point, but it wouldn't require us to actually completely lift and shift everything if one component does not fit. So, equipped with a customizable core component, or rather multiple components, we proceeded with what can be described as component shopping. So next in line was the payment gateway. This time the steps were whether it meets our requirements, was the cost of service, cost of integration, developer experience, and with the payment provider, we spent most time to make the right decision, because it is not something that you would like to have to change down the road. So, but also it is something that you will be able to change. But we didn't want to make an incorrect decision at this point. Now we needed to support, because it's a delivery app, we need to support delivery. So inventing and writing our own solution was definitely not an option in order to reach the market fast. And we were on a search for a delivery provider. So delivery component was also bought off the shelf. Now, in order to have nice overview of the fulfillment process and enable non-technical person to actually be able to manage it, we had to integrate out-of-the-box workflow management tool. Again, assessing requirements of both workflow and the delivery provider, and assessing cost, developer experience, and user experience. Now, when it comes to customer experience, which is ultimately the driver for conversions and retention, I would like to point to different types of requirements. So they're implicit, being that application is functional, available, secure, responsive, and we need to ensure that these are met. So this is the bare minimum. We need to be aware of how our application is performing and to quickly react in case of an outage of any kind. This is why an application observability is important, and proper monitoring should be set in place. So observability of the business thing. So this is why we went for shopping of analytics tools. Okay, so far we've plugged in a bunch of things, and we have a functionality wise bare minimum. We have a solution that is scalable, stable, mostly managed by third-party service providers. And everything is being glued together either through out-of-the-box integrations or custom-built integrations, which these custom modules basically represent here in this diagram. Now, we talked about the implicit requirements. Now, the explicit requirement was the customer engagement. And I already mentioned that it was revenue driving force. So we needed to have full control of the customer experience of the application. And this is where most of the development, custom development effort took place. So building custom user interfaces. I have mentioned the need for rapid experimentation, and our platform, same as the other platforms, needed to evolve. So we care about hearing the customer feedback around whether the user experience is on a level that we want it to be, and whether they like or don't like our application. But waiting for customers to actually report their likes and dislikes is not an option. So we need a system in place in order to evaluate how changes in our application affect conversions. So we implemented, once again, off-the-shelf solution for A/B testing. Again, investigation around assessing different tools, build versus buy. We've went for the existing tool, and yeah, luckily enough, we didn't have to change it. So the other components, such as ERP integrations, managing supply chains, notifications, campaigns, loyalty, to name a few, the workflow basically went similar to this, but you should have the basic understanding of the composable commerce approach by this example so far. Now, I would also like for the tech people in the audience to call out to check the commerce tools capabilities for customization, like API extensions, subscriptions, custom types, fields, objects. I mean, it really brings out the power of customization. Now, to some up our experience with the composable commerce, there are a lot out-of-the-box solutions out there, and most likely there is the one that will solve the problem at hand. Get familiar with the customization options of the solution, because sometimes you don't anticipate you will need some customization. So check the customization options before choosing your out-of-the-box solution. Next, the trade-off analysis between existing solution can be time-consuming. Also, build versus buy analysis can be time-consuming, so be patient. It can also happen, as I mentioned before, that mid-implementation, you find out that out-of-the-box solution does not bring you through the last 10 miles. And in this case, make pragmatic decisions and go back to the drawing board now with more experience and assess again out-of-the-box solutions versus custom solution. On the right-hand side, I would like to point out some key takeaways. There are, so properly chosen out-of-the-box solution can be time and cost effective. We've made our MVP with the one Scrum team in 3 months. So the out-of-the-box solution really sped up the process to reach the market fast. And even if you realize halfway through that you need to change the solution, reintegrating another solution is often more cost effective than building customized one from the scratch. Now, I'll repeat this again, go back to the drawing board and compare the solutions again, now with more experience, of course. And for non-engineering companies like Pharma, the unpredictable cost of the custom solutions make them too risky to consider. So they like out-of-the-box solutions more. And last but not least, although there will always be custom codes, do try to avoid reinventing the wheel. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, Lena, back to you.
Wow, that was such an insightful session. Thank you so much to both of you for sharing your knowledge. Now let's see, at the moment we don't have any questions. So in the meantime, if you can come up with something, we still have a few more minutes. But in any case, I would just like to point out that if you consider headless commerce for any of your next projects, just feel free to reach out to us at contact@truenode.co, or you can also discuss and reach out directly to Robert and Dan on LinkedIn. And since we have this webinar series very frequently, we will be glad if you can share with us what are some of the topics that you would like us to dive deeper into. Like, always feel free to email us, and we'll make sure to organize something useful and insightful for you. I think that would be it then. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you a great remaining of the day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. I think we have one question. How much time is spent on average in research phase when comparing solutions? So Robert, do we still want to answer, or?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, depending on how well you understand what needs to be achieved, that can take a long way. So if you have more clear understanding of the features and functionality you expect from a solution, then you can do it much faster. That, of course, it depends from person to person, but let's say the researching of a solution without previous knowledge of it, it can take up to a week, depending on the complexity and what problems does it solve. So you can have some simpler solutions that can be resolved within a day, but it's time well spent, because during the investigation you really learn what the actual requirements are, because during the process you try assessing and it imposes more questions.
Okay, great, thanks. I hope, Radomir, that answered your question, but if not, just feel free to reach out to Robert on LinkedIn. And since you're still here, okay, great. Anything else? Okay, I think you're all good. Thank you again and see you next time.